All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.
Hey, how's it? I mean, another week for our favorite show again, right? Where we want to learn new stuff every week. So, I mean, thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you so much for joining us today. Well, actually, welcome to the show. And this is The Void Show on Active FM. Active FM is obviously a radio station. And so my name is Andrew, your show host of all time, right? So, I mean, last week we had quite an interesting show, right? I should do say that, because it was kind of like, a top question topic like show, right? Very interesting one. And so the question was, could knowledge be power, right? Could knowledge be power? And so we were keen to hear some of your thoughts. And, as I said last week, we live in a world where everybody has got something to say about everything, right? I mean, we could not be going through the same situation, but then you could be having an opinion about this situation, right? So it's a world where everyone has got something to say, okay? You go on search engines, literally everyone says something about everything. Okay, so in a world like this, how do you then say you've got knowledge and you can regard this knowledge as power? How do you say that, right? Because you literally go to a search engine for like 2 minutes and you've like accumulated all these opinions, right? So would you then now say you've got knowledge and you would regard it as power? Would you say that? What about scientific knowledge? What is scientific knowledge? In a world like this, how would you conclude to have a scientific knowledge, eh? And so that was a very intriguing discussion that I had with you there. So, I mean, I would really advise that you go listen to that show after this one. Really bad sound, but then I think it was a very interesting topic, so you definitely want to go listen to that show, right? So yeah, now today you surely have seen what we're speaking about, right? We're speaking about stars, right? And the fate of stars, actually, right? It's also a very interesting show. We're going to have a great show today because we're going to learn about how stars approach their fate, okay? And this might appear as a surprise to some people because they'll be like, do stars really have fate? And what do we mean by fate of stars? Fate of stars mean the end of lifetime of stars, right? That's what the fate of stars mean, right? The fate of the universe, it means the end of the universe, right? Now, the fate of stars obviously means the end of the lifetime of stars. And this would obviously imply that stars do have a birth time, right? They do become born, right? They do... That's not a word of saying it. Either way, they become formed, right? They become formed and they continuously evolve, and at some time in their lifetime, they eventually die, okay? They eventually die, and some of them would obviously go into black holes and sort of stuff like that. And so that's really today what we're going to be speaking about, right? So, before anything, I am keen to hear some of your thoughts about stars. Well, actually, the fate of stars, right? The end of the lifetime of stars. But, one interesting thing about this is that the lifetime of stars is quite a huge one, right? It's quite an incredibly crazy huge one compared to our lifetime, right? I mean, we only live in a range of like 1 to 100 years, 1 to 105 years to the extremum, right? 1 to 110 years. That's really the range of our lifetime, right? And that's okay. But, the lifetime of stars, I don't know how many generations would come and go in one lifetime of a star, right? I mean, we're speaking about trillions of years, right? Trillions of years. And so, the point is that they do have a lifetime, and so they become formed and they eventually die. So do tell us on our social media platforms, what do you think about the fate of stars? Did you even think that stars die in a way? Did you think that they are formed in some weird way? Or did you think that stars are forever, right? They've been there, they're not going anywhere, they are eternal. Did you think that? Do check us out on our social media platforms, Active FM, and definitely do share that with us. So, let me do this, and right after this, we will be speaking more about the fate of stars. So stay tuned.
Active FM. Radio has never been better. Active FM. Radio has never been better.
Okay, great. So let's get to speak about stars, right? Let's get to speak about stars. So we want to be quite frank about stars. We want to confront stars today, right? We want to confront stars. So yeah, we're going to be speaking about stars, but today we want to focus on the fate of stars, right? We're going to focus on the fate of stars, and what we mean by that, we mean how stars would eventually die out, right? You might want to say how the death of stars. You are absolutely right. You might want to say how stars maybe would approach the end of their lifetime. You are absolutely right? So that's what we were going to be focusing on for today. And so, if you are interested in knowing more about stars in general, we had a show on that. We were speaking about crazy and fun facts about stars, right? So, if you just want to know about stars in general, I do suggest that you check that show out. We did a few weeks ago. So, if you just scroll down, in our show list, you'll definitely find that show. And after you found it, I guess you should enjoy it, right? Yeah. And so today we're speaking about the fate of stars, right? The death of stars. It's pretty much the same thing. But, I think I should say that we're not at all speaking about the end of time, okay? We're not speaking about the end of the universe. Right. So if you want to know about the end of time, you should go listen to Food for Thought, right? They speak about those kind of things, interesting stuff from the Bible. But here we're not speaking about the end of time. And I should say why we're not speaking about the end of time. That's because stars dying or stars reaching the end of their lives does not imply the end of time, right? And by the way, stars do not at all die at the same time, right? They don't die at the same time, right? So stars dying, that's like an individual experience to a star, okay? It's kind of like it's subjective to stars themselves. Right, so things like the temperature of the star, what else, what kind of a star it is, and maybe how long the star has been burning, right? Well, actually, stars are not burning in a way, right? So a good way to say it would probably be how long has a star been glowing? Okay, so things like that, those are some of the factors that would determine roughly how long a star would live, right? How long a star would live, okay? So stars don't at all die all at the same time, and so we're not speaking about the end of the universe, right? Stars dying don't imply the end of the universe, right? Yeah, so let's speak about the death of stars, right? So if you should know, well, I actually think you should know. So, because we're speaking about the fate of stars, meaning the death of stars, I should do say that this does suggest that at some point in time, stars were born. Right? I mean, if you're going to speak about the death of something, then it was obviously born at some time in the past. Okay? If something's going to die, then surely it was born at some time in the past, right? So that's really what it is. And if you get me, the point that I'm trying to drive home here is that stars are not eternal, right? Stars are not at all eternal. So they do form, stars do form, and they evolve, and eventually at some time in their future, they then die out. And so today, that's like the kind of range in timeline that we're going to look at, okay? That's really what we're going to look at for today, that range of the timeline, right? So, yeah, I guess we should then speak about the fate of stars, right? So, yeah. Now, here's the thing. When a star is born, okay, it starts first as a huge ball of hydrogen, okay, and hydrogen would obviously be this chemical element, right? It would obviously be this chemical element that you find. We have it here on Earth, and if you did a bit of chemistry, you would know hydrogen, right? I mean, I don't think you even have to do chemistry to know hydrogen element, but then you know hydrogen element, right? So stars, when a star is born, it's basically just essentially a ball of hydrogen. Okay, that's just what it is at first, right? It's just a ball of hydrogen, and there's just a small smattering, right, a handful elements that are there in a star, right, when it's a newly born star. Okay, so yeah, now because there's gravity in the universe, right, there's gravity in the universe, and obviously this gravity acts on everything. It acts on planets, it acts on stars, it acts on the moon, you name them, right? Undoubtedly gravity acts on everything, right? Right, so I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. I don't know, but let's try it, right? Hopefully you get to see what I'm trying to say about this, right? So here's the point, right? Now the first point is that when a star is just born, it's just a newly huge ball, right, of what? Of hydrogen, okay? That's just what it is. And now because there's gravity, and obviously gravity acts everywhere in the universe, it's obviously going to act on that newly born star, okay? Now, here's the thing. Let's first get an idea of how gravity acts on these things, right? Now, here's the thing. First thing, Earth is like it is because of gravity, okay? Earth is a sphere because of gravity. The moon is a sphere because of gravity. Asteroids are like that because of gravity. So when you look at everything in the universe, you get a rough estimate that, oh my word, these things are all spherical shapes. Okay, even if you look at asteroids, they might be irregular, but they form this kind of like a rough sphere. You get what I'm saying, right? So there's this spherical shape that things are forming in the universe, right? And that's because of gravity, right? I mean, it wouldn't make sense to have a flat surface when you in the presence of gravity, right? So that's just one of the reasons. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just putting it out there, right? So yeah. Now, what I want us to understand right now is how does gravity act on these things, right? Why are they spherical, or maybe just a bit of understanding on how does gravity act on these things. Now, let's assume that you are on Earth's surface, right? Which you obviously are. Now, when you are on Earth's surface, it does not matter where you are on Earth's surface, you're obviously going to experience gravity, okay? You're in the North Pole, you're in the South Pole, you in, Robben Island, you in, Nigeria, you in Dubai, does not really matter. Everywhere you are going to experience gravity. Okay, now here's a question that I have for you. Now, which would be the best location for gravity on Earth's surface that would allow it to be everywhere you are? Which would be the best location? I don't know if I structured that question okay, but let me try again, right? Let me try again. Now, this is what I'm asking. Now, because gravity seems to be acting everywhere you are, right, in this spherical Earth. Now, here's the question. The question is, which would be the best location? So, where should gravity be to allow it to act on everything that's on Earth? Where would it be at? Should it be in the North Pole? Should it be in the clouds? Should it be in someone's house? Should it be, I don't know, in Cape Town? Right? So you get what I'm saying. So where should gravity be? Let's assume that there's a source of gravity. And so where should that source of gravity be placed in such a way that it seems to be pulling everything, right, towards Earth? Now, here's a good answer. It's supposed to be at the center of Earth, right? Because if it's at the center of Earth, then it's creating this gravitational field that seems to be pulling everything towards itself, right? And that's actually one of the reasons why we've got a spherical Earth, right? Gravity, we assume it to be at the center of the Earth, right? At the center of mass, at the center of Earth. And so if it's there, and Earth is a sphere, then gravity is pulling everything towards itself, right? It's pulling everything towards itself. That's why you don't just have things flying all around, right? That's because they are being pulled by gravity towards the center of the Earth, okay? So that's just a picture of how gravity acts on bodies, okay? That's just the picture of how gravity acts on bodies. But we were not there. Now, here we are. We are here actually. Now we are on a star. We've got a newly formed star and it's just a ball of hydrogen. And now gravity acts on this star like it does on Earth, right? That's actually how gravity acts on these bodies. Now we've got this gravity. It's acting on the star like it does on every other spherical body. It's at the center of the star, right? Now remember that this star is just made up of hydrogen elements, okay? You've got hydrogen elements floating all around the star, okay? And so let me tell you something that's very interesting. Now, this strong pull of gravity that's happening in the star's core, it's so strong that it's creating so much pressure, right? So there's pressure at the star's core. There's so much pressure that it's enough to take these hydrogen elements, fuse them together, and form other elements. Some of them would be helium elements, and that's actually a process that's making the stars to glow, right? But we're not there. We're just here. This gravity is so strong that it's making all these hydrogen elements to fuse together to form what? To form other elements, right? We actually call that process nuclear fusion, to form other elements, right? That's really what happens there. And so there's so much pressure at the star's core such that this pressure is high enough to do what? To balance the inward pull of gravity. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but listen to this, picture this. A star is just a ball of gas, okay? So if it was only gravity that was pulling the star towards the center of the star, then the star would just collapse under its own gravity. It would just, collapse under its own gravity, because there's nothing that's opposing this gravity, right? So if you get what I'm saying, there's nothing that's just opposing this gravity. It's just gravity pulling the star, towards the center. If it was like that, then the star would obviously collapse under its own gravity. But it does not happen like that. Why are stars not collapsing? They are not collapsing because at the center of the sun, while the gravity is pulling the star towards itself, there's a pressure that's been generated at the sun's core, right? And this pressure is high enough that it opposes the inward pull of gravity. And in that way, what happens? In that way, the star remains in balance, right? That's why we don't have stars just collapsing under their own gravity. But now here's the big question. Now the question is, what would happen if the supply of hydrogen atoms ran out? What would happen? Because this pressure is actually generated by these hydrogens being fusing together to form other forms of heliums. Now, what would happen if they run out? We're going to be speaking about that, and right now I just want to play you this beautiful song, Active Worship, Inception, Take Us Back, right? So we're going to be speaking more about that right after this. So I don't even know what I'm saying, so make sure that you stay tuned, and we're going to be speaking about what if this hydrogen now runs out, because this star is made up of hydrogen, and there's a process that's happening. It's taking these hydrogens, it's converting them to other elements, and because of that, there's this pressure that's happening at the core of the sun in such a way that the star remains balanced, right? So what happens if these hydrogen elements run out? We're going to be speaking after this song, beautiful song, Take Us Back. Active Worship saying to you, take us back. You are still on Active FM, and it was playing on Active FM as well, played by The Void Show. Thank you so much for still being with us. I hope you enjoyed that song. I definitely did. And this is still The Void Show on Active FM, and so we are still speaking about the fate of stars. Right, the fate of stars. And if you were here with us before this beautiful jam, we were speaking about actually, what are we looking at? We are looking at this lifetime range, right, of stars. They obviously are created, they evolve, they expand, and they eventually contract and die out, right? So we're looking at that time range. But before this beautiful song, we were speaking about now, how do stars generate this heat that they have, right? How do they generate this heat? Okay, if you get what I'm saying. And we did say that so it's a star, it's a ball of gas, hydrogen gas at first, and so when it's a new star, okay, it's just a ball of hydrogen gas, and because of gravity, it's at the center of this star. It's pulling everything towards itself, right? It's pulling everything, and so if it was just gravity pulling the star towards the center of the star, then the star would basically collapse under its own gravity, right? But because now this gravity is so strong that there's so much pressure that's created at the core of the star, such that it is able to take all these hydrogen elements, fuse them together to form helium elements and other forms of elements, right? So because of that, that pressure that's happening at the core of the sun, it's so strong that it counteracts the inward pull of gravity, right? So what we mean, as much as gravity tries to pull the star towards the center, as much as gravity tries to make the star collapse, but there's this pressure that's opposing the inward pull of gravity, okay? So in that way, the star remains balanced, okay? And so what's this pressure? This pressure is caused by the conversion of these hydrogen atoms to other forms of elements. Now the big question is, what if these hydrogen elements runs out? What if they run out? What if they just completely run out? What's gonna happen? Remember that the process of conversion is what causing the pressure, right? Now this pressure does what? This pressure basically opposes the inward pull of gravity, right? So the star is balanced. So what if the source of this pressure runs out? What if that is true? Now here's what's going to happen. When this happens, the star, either two things are going to happen, right? The star is either going to contract and die, or it's just going to violently explode in space. Wow. Right? So that's what's going to happen. So if that happens, so if now this pressure stops happening, that's opposing the inward pull of gravity, two things are going to happen, right? Two ways are going to take place. Two ways are going to either one way is going to take place, right? So what are those two ways? Either the star is going to contract under its own gravity, right? It's like going to contract under its own gravity, because gravity is at the center and it's pulling the star towards the center. Like, it's pulling so much with a strong force now. So if it continues to do that, and this pressure that's opposing the gravity is no longer there anymore, then the star is obviously going to contract and die. Okay? Or the star is going to explode in space, like, bah, releasing the material in space. So that's what's going to happen, and that's what we call supernova. Okay, I'm sure you've heard of supernova. That's really what it is. Supernova is two words merged together. It's super, meaning like extremely, right? And nova is just the least violent stellar eruption. Okay, so supernova, it means it's like a super explosion of star throughout space-time. if you get what I'm saying, right? So that's really what happens. And when we speak about supernovas, right? These are explosions of stars, okay? They are called supernovas, and this is just these are one of the most violent events that are imaginable. The most violent events that can literally take place in the universe, right? Just imagine how huge a star is. I mean, inside our sun, you can literally, fit about 1 million Earths. I'm not sure about that. So it's pretty huge compared to Earth. And I mean, Earth is very huge. So imagine if you can put literally more than 1,000 Earths inside the sun. That's crazily huge. Okay, so imagine that star, imagine our sun exploding out into space. Alright, just imagine. That would be dangerous, right? And so that would be dangerous. So we spoke about this as well. So there was a show, The Universe is a Nutshell. The Universe in a Nutshell. In that show, we were speaking about what would really happen when a star would explode in space. But that's basically what a supernova is, and when that happens, when a supernova happens, that star would literally outshine about 100 billion stars, and then it would just disappear. That's literally what would happen, right? And so I hope you enjoyed the show. I really hope you did, right? I tried by all means to explain this, so I really hope that you understood what we were talking about today. So right after this, I guess I will be closing the show, right? So yeah, right after this.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, are you
You can stream Reactive's very own The Movement album on Spotify and Apple iTunes. Reactive is a movement.
And of course, it happens that we now have reached the end of the Void show. Today we were speaking about the fate of stars. I hope you did enjoy the show, right? I really do hope that you did enjoy the show. And so, you can literally find us everywhere if you just search Active FM. So we are on iTunes, we are on Apple Podcast, we are on Google Podcast, even all these social platforms, Gab, Pala, Twitter, Instagram. Just search Active FM and you will definitely find us there. We are also on YouTube. Please subscribe, like our YouTube channel, and yes, right. We everywhere. We also on Spotify. So that's beautiful, right? Isn't it? So it's crazily beautiful. So I think we are done for today. Let me see you next time, same place. Have an amazing week ahead of you. Great.
Active FM? Radio has never been better.